So what we want to go is from content that interrupts to content that integrates. So whether you're watching golf or whether you're listening to music or whether you're watching something else, we want to integrate into the content to feel organic.
Welcome to Content Kingdom. This is your backstage pass to the people, tools, and the trends shaping the future of content marketing.
And welcome to Content Kingdom. I am your host, David G. Ewing. And you know what? You probably realized in the 1970s or early 80s that if you were a big brand, you could just go out and get some print media. You could go put an ad on a broadcast television station and you'd be all set. And life in the old days was pretty easy as far as I'm concerned for marketers. But those days and that ship have sailed so long ago. And so today we have a really cool guest, someone who thinks differently and thinks in a really modern way. I'd like to introduce Rustom Dastoor from Mastercard. He is the EVP and the head of marketing and comms for America's Mastercard. Rustom, thank you for being on Content Kingdom.
Pleasure, Dave. Thanks for having me.
So, Rustom, this idea that we don't live in this world. This is, I think, pretty cool because you run a huge brand, and I'm curious. First off, could you tell me a little bit about where this idea came from? Where did you get this idea? And maybe you could tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. I mean, it starts with us as consumers, right? I mean, we're first and foremost consumers before we're marketers. So I always start thinking through that lens as to how have my media consumption habits changed? How has my buying behavior changed? What am I doing differently than, say, I did in my childhood or my parents did before me? And it goes back to the premise you set up a few minutes ago, which is life in the 70s. You turned on your television. There were 3, maybe 4 cable networks. They were all kind of sharing the same kind of content. The news looked very similar. Our worldview was quite similar. And now suddenly you fast forward 30, 40, 50 years, and you see how much the media landscape is fragmented, how many media choices we have as consumers, which is great, by the way. And then what that means from a brand standpoint, and how does a brand talk to you when there's so much fragmentation and even more lately, polarization when it comes to the media.
Got it. And so, yeah, there is this idea like your identity can be defined by the podcasts you listen to, right? The TV programs that you watch or, so many things. And so when you have a huge brand like that, walk me through some of the pitfalls you're afraid of if you were to take your brand and identify it with quote, the wrong, media.
So look, firstly, reputations are built over decades, but they can be destroyed over minutes, right? We have one of the most reputed brands in the world. Brand Z ranks us as the 12th most influential brand in the world. It's a responsibility that we take very seriously, both myself, my team, and the generations of marketers that have come before me at Mastercard that have all sort of built steady blocks in this wall that have built our brand to being what it is today. And we want to be very careful that we don't step on any inadvertent landmines that cause our reputation to have damage. Now, we are the ultimate big tent player. We have more than 3 billion cards in force. That means we have billions of cardholders around the world. We are for everyone. We're not a brand that skews towards affluent or mass. We're not a brand that skews towards men or women or any geography or any ethnic skew. We are literally the ultimate big tent player. And we want to make sure that when we build our brand, that brand feels welcoming to everyone. No matter what your persuasion is, Mastercard is a brand for you. And the way we try to collaborate with our audience is around things that they're passionate about. If you love music, then we want to build a platform around music that you will find engaging. If you love sport, if you're a baseball fan or a golfer, it doesn't matter if you're in your 20s, it doesn't matter if you're in your 60s, you have the same love. So traditional demographic segmentation matters little in that context because you're there for the love of the sport. And that's through which lens we want to engage you.
Got it. So I guess what I'm realizing is that when you are the big tent, right? There are so many fragmented channels now, and you can't pick any of those tiny channels and scale, right? So walk me through, how did you guys arrive at the answer that is, let's go after sports? But where did that come from, and how did you prove that out?
Yeah. So, going back to this idea that in the 70s, content was sort of consolidated around these 3, 4 big platforms. You can just play that out decade by decade, right? If you went into the decade of the 80s, you saw the arrival of cable television, and there was more bespoke content created, MTV for music and ESPN for sports and so on and so forth. You then went into the 90s and the advent of the internet, and you have this explosion online of websites and blogs and more content, and also the start of polarization of content. You then saw the turn of the century, the arrival of social media, Facebook, Twitter, etc., where individuals like us became content creators. So even more content and even more fragmentation and polarization. You then go into streaming that brought its own set of behavior change in the way we consume media, right? You and I probably saw Seinfeld at the same time, Thursday nights at 9 p.m., but I bet you saw Game of Thrones very differently from the way I saw it. One of us might have binged it. One of us might have seen it on the weekend. One of us might have seen it on a flight. So the fragmentation of media has been exceptional over the last 40, 50 years. But the world of sport has gone in the opposite direction. More consolidation. The likes of the NBA, the NFL, MLB, PGA, Formula One have really taken control of their ecosystems, whether it's broadcast rights, whether it's distribution of content, whether it's partnerships with the likes of Netflix, creating all these awesome documentaries that we get to see now, like Drive to Survive, etc. So they've really vertically integrated the sport, and it's made it very easy for us marketers to work within their ecosystems and really build out content that fans love engaging with. It's also not polarizing. You go to a sports game, you go to see the Yankees, you don't know who's sitting next to you, what their political views are, what their social views are. You're there because you love baseball. You're there because you love the Yankees. You're there at the World Series. You're rooting for them against the Dodgers. The Dodgers fans have the same view. That polarization in society does not manifest itself when it comes to sports, music, entertainment, etc. And for that reason, marketers like ourselves look at the world of sports as a very valuable place in which to position our brand and build content around it.
Yeah, I think all of that makes a lot of sense, but I do have to take one issue with one thing, and that is I just can't sign up to be a fan of the Yankees. So that's not going to happen. But
Mets fan, Sox fan, who are we talking to here?
Oh, Tigers, man. Tigers all the way. But it's close to the Lions, but in baseball, we'll take the Tigers. There's so many interesting things I want to unpack about that. And first, just an offhand comment, which is, jokes have changed so much, because if I made a joke about Seinfeld and showed up the next day in a puffy shirt, everybody would laugh, right? But you come in and say, hey, winter's coming, and you get some chuckles because half the group doesn't know what the hell you're talking about. So
that's right.
But okay. So yes, I have personally been there, right? Where the team is on the goal line and I am hugging the person next to me who could be, left of Mao, or they could be right of Voldemort, and I wouldn't care, because I am, we just want the score, right? And so, all right, I can get that. Now you've done some cool things, and this is where I wanted to kind of pivot is, let's look behind the scenes, because you've done major things with the PGA, major things with MLB, major things with F1. I would love for our listeners to hear a little bit about each of these. And so let's pick one to start with and walk me through, what's it look like from your side, right? You're investing a lot of money in these things. And so what are you hoping for? What's the strategy, and where's the big payoff moment? I guess let's pick one of them. So can we talk about your favorite one first? What's your favorite one?
Sure. Let's talk about the PGA, since you brought up the PGA. Right?
All right. Yeah.
Again, this goes back to how we see things as viewers of the sport, and then how that manifests itself into the work we do as marketers, right? It is so hard today to gain engagement between a brand and its audience. And you want to find ways that the audience welcomes your involvement in programming and doesn't see it as an intrusion. In the old model, in the classic days of linear TV programming, you'd make a 30-second ad, fictitious actors talking about a fictitious product with a series of benefits that were carefully scripted, and then a call to action. And consumers were wired to engage it and sort of take what they will away from it. Today, when the ads come on, you're going to make a sandwich, you're going to answer the door, you're going to the toilet, you're doing something else. And we have lost you. Even if you're sitting there, you likely have your tablet or your phone on your lap, and you're into your second screen viewing. There you go. You've got it right there. So we know that engagement is very hard to gain. So what we want to go is from content that interrupts to content that integrates. So whether you're watching golf or whether you're listening to music or whether you're watching something else, we want to integrate into the content to feel organic. So working with the PGA, one of the things we started doing is saying, let's not make ads anymore. We've got all this ad inventory. No one wants to see ads anymore. What we know from the PGA is that their fans want to see more golf content. So we worked with the PGA to mic up golfers so that we could listen into what golfers and their caddies were talking about. And you can imagine that is fascinating viewing for a audience at home, because that's not something you get to see when you're sitting on the couch behind a television. So we gave access to something that was otherwise not available. And then to that, we tied a brand message. And through that, we also passed product messaging, etc. But it is very welcomed because we're not an intrusion. We're now integrated into the programming. Separately, we want to extend the life of that engagement beyond that linear moment. So we work with creators to pick up that content and amplify it through social by bringing their own spin and their own amplification of it. So that's one way we have sort of embraced this new medium.
So could you give me an example of that? Like, what's a great PGA moment that's integrated as opposed to, a classic advertisement that's interruptive?
Yeah. So for instance, we mic up Justin Rose, who's a ambassador of Mastercard, and we listen to him talking with his caddy. Or Shane Lowry, we listen to him talking with his caddy, or an Akshay Batra. Now, no matter how engaged a fan you are, you don't get to hear what those conversations are. What's the caddies talking to them about? Is he giving them sort of a boost in confidence? Is there some technical data he's sharing? Is it a point of criticism? What are we listening in on here? It's fascinating viewing. And for an audience at home to listen into that becomes very inspiring. Now, separately, a creator in social media can take that and unpack that further. Whether it's through education, whether it's through entertainment, whether it's through some other form, to say, let me take what I listened in and now add my own spin to it. So we work with golf creators to talk about what is it that they heard and what do they know that they could build on top of what was just communicated. So now we've got the audience not just engaged in linear where they heard Akshay or Justin or whoever talking to their caddy. They've now gone into social and listened to a creator amplified even further. So where the engagement would have stopped earlier on with you turning your television off and walking away, it now the engagement continues into social where you get more opportunities to talk to this audience.
So do you guys have like a top 10 list of like the most awesome things that PGA golfers and their caddies have talked about where you're like, this is just solid gold, like something that's just so much fun? No,
we don't. And, as the season unfolds, we'll hear more and more. So stay tuned. It's called Beyond the Ropes. It's a segment that comes on. And it's with the Golf Channel, and you can listen in to some really cool conversations. Maybe we'll hear some profanity. Maybe we'll hear something scandalous. Who knows? You never know what you're going to hear.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a lot of fun, one way or the other, and we'll work with it.
I think that sounds pretty cool. I'm looking forward to hearing it. So, okay, so that's PGA, and that behind the scenes tour with the behind the ropes sounds awesome. Let's pivot to something else. Let's pivot to let's say like Messi, for example. Leo Messi is kind of an amazing character. Like, I didn't realize it, but there's only 3 people on Instagram who have a bigger profile than him, right? One is somebody that we won't even talk about. The second is the platform itself. And actually, the third doesn't even exist. There is anybody. He's number three. He's the third biggest one. So that's a big move. Walk me through the decision to partner with Messi. Where did that come from, and how's that grown?
So look, we have a huge stake in the world of soccer, especially for our international markets. Soccer is a very valuable sport with which to bring fans in and engage them. So we sponsor the Champions League in Europe. We sponsor Copa America in Latin America. We have a number of such soccer partnerships. And it's very helpful to have an ambassador who kind of lives that experience and can engage with brands. And in the world of soccer, this is a generational moment to partner with Leo Messi, right? He is out and out the best player we've ever seen in the sport. He's also an incredibly decent human being. He's a family man. He's a friend. He's loyal to his club. He's good with his fans. He really embodies the role of a sportsman and a gentleman. So for a brand to associate with him is just an honor and an absolute opportunity that couldn't go missing. He also cuts across teams. He cuts across geographies. He cuts across age groups and profiles. People just love him. You know, we're so thrilled to be in partnership with him, and the opportunity to do work that matters to him is something we lean into. So currently we have a whole social media engagement going that sort of interprets the tattoos that he has on his body and sort of what they mean, right? And it's incredible content because that's not a side of him that fans have seen or heard. So again, we're giving you something that is a rare piece of content that you wouldn't get anywhere else. And by doing so, we have drawn you into the world of Mastercard. We've drawn you into our brand, and we've built a connection with you around something you love. So whether it's Messi or whether it's other athletes like this, it's just an opportunity to build a human connection and really share something personal about them that they feel comfortable talking about, but in a very special way to the audience.
That is priceless. So have you met Messi?
I have not personally met him, no.
All right.
He is very difficult to get in touch with. As you can imagine, he's an active athlete, so we get just a few days in the year, which we restrict for shoots and customer engagements, etc. But I personally have not met him. I'm hoping to do so at some point this year.
And do you know, can you tell me about one of his tattoos? Because I couldn't tell you about a single Messi tattoo to save my life. But
well, you've got to tune in and see on our social, because that's the best way, because you'll hear it from him. And there's a contest as well, great, which gives you the chance to meet him. So if you'd like to meet him, you can participate in the contest.
All right. I'm going to be in the contest. And if I win, you're coming with me. What do you say?
All right, done.
So those are some of the kind of the cool behind the scenes things. It's really neat. You know, the thing is that every CMO who's listening to this is saying, wow, you know, that's got to be big dollars. It's got to be huge for the brand. It's a big bet. What can you tell me about the decision-making process that goes into making these big choices and, you know, deciding to put these big tent bets down?
So look, firstly, before the dollars comes thoughtfulness. So yes, not every brand has the kind of budget that we have to do what we do. But I think everyone can be inspired from the idea that we should strive towards engagement with our audience and look to be an integration into what they love, not an intrusion. So you don't need millions of dollars to do that. You just need thoughtfulness, and you can find different ways to do it. Not everything we do is a big bet. In many cases, some things are more viral. They're more local. I can talk a lot about social activations we've done or small business Main Street activations that we've done that are very doable for most brands. But when it comes to assets like this, we put a lot of rigor into it. So recently we signed a partnership with the McLaren Formula One team. So Formula One racing is on the up. It was acquired by Liberty Media a couple of years ago, and they've been very thoughtful in commercializing the sport, bringing more fans in, bringing more sponsors in, and making it a really exciting product for people to engage with. So we knew that as this passion grows around the world, we want to have a foot in this door. So we started off by saying, okay, who's the best fit for us as a partner. And we looked at the league, Formula One itself. We looked at various teams. We explored, what would make us good partners with this entity. And we landed on McLaren because in many ways, we saw a lot of ourselves in them. And we just felt that it was a very organic fit. They're a performance company. They're a performance team. They've won 9 constructors championships, 12 driver championships. They might add to both those counts this year because they're in the lead right now, both from a team perspective and from a driver perspective. So we like the idea of being associated with winners. In the world of sponsorships, it matters a lot because that brand affinity and that brand halo comes to the brand that partners with it as well. They also have a very strong perspective on, being socially conscious. Even though they're a Formula One team, sustainability is very important to them. So they do a lot towards meeting their target of net zero by 2030. That's important to us as well as a corporate citizen. It's very important for them to build the grassroots of the sport. So they do a lot to encourage women in racing. They do a lot to encourage minority communities in racing. This is important because racing is a very expensive sport to get into. So the democratization of the sport is extremely important. And that matters, as I said, to a big tent player like us because we're for everyone, right? So we saw a lot of parallels in what they're doing and what we're doing. They're global as well, 24 races around the year, much like we are. So we found these parallels that were present. We then started looking at how did they go to market? Do they enjoy engaging with their fan base, or is this a more distant relationship? And we found that they were the most followed the most followed team in the sport across any other. They've got about 500 million fans around the world who are very active working and participating with the brand. So that gave us confidence to say that, there's a lot of work we'll do together that will be really exciting to the fan base. So we start looking at these things very thoughtfully. We then look at the investment and say, how does that investment benefit our customer group? So the ecosystem that supports Mastercard, whether that's retail banks or merchants or airline co-brands or others, how can we leverage the pass-through rights that we have, the IP that we have, the hosting opportunities that we have, the content creation opportunities that we have to benefit all of them? And that assessment then leads us to, this is the right partner. Now, this has worked pretty well for us because we've been in partnership with the PGA Tour for 30 years, with MLB for 27 years, with the Grammys for, I think, more than 15 years. We have these long partnerships and they stand the test of time. They stand the impact of a COVID or a financial services industry meltdown in 2008. They stand the test of time because they're based on shared values. And we can work through difficult times with them, and we can wait for better times to come around because we know we're going to be in partnership with one another. So it's a very thoughtful process that we go through to select such partners and, as you call it, place these big bets.
Excellent. That is really interesting to lead with the customer first. But you said something in there that I want to change and pivot to, which is not everything is a big bet. And at the same time, I think, you're pretty well known for saying that, as things get small, they start to get toxic, right? So help me with the combination there. How do you do small things but avoid the toxicity?
Yeah. Oh, there are incredible ways to do small things that are very endearing. So, for instance, last year, we took over a small town called Fort Langley in British Columbia in Canada. And what we did is we created a Main Street festival around the holidays. So we just had a fun idea that we said we'd create a storybook, and the shops on the Main Street would be characters and locations in the storybook. And the central character goes from shop to shop in the storybook. And you don't have to really do anything other than, as a consumer, you just walk up to the Main Street, you see the stack of storybooks, you pick one up out of curiosity, and it starts pointing out landmarks in this animated manner that you can go to. And when you go into the shop that's been profiled, you get something special like a little trinket, or you get a little, in this case, it was a wooden block that represents the town. And you go and collect these wooden blocks and you put them up on your mantelpiece, on your mantle, around Christmas. And it's just a small idea that generates sales for small businesses during holiday season so that they don't lose their business to big box retailers. It's fun for consumers to go and have this little family shopping experience around town. And it's just a small town in the middle of British Columbia. And we do that over the course of the year, both in the US and in Canada. And it draws so much engagement because it's not just the folks from the town, it's people from nearby towns like Vancouver who take the train up, or it gets amplified through social media, and then people all around the country see it and say, isn't this an endearing holiday festival that would be so much fun to be a part of? And we constantly have small business reach out to us and say, come and do this in our town. We want to do this. How do we become next? And it's like, sure, we'll try and set these up as often as we can. There's nothing digital about it. It's very tactile. It's very local. And we can do that while doing the Formula One, the PGA, the MLB at the same time.
That is pretty clever. And you brought the word tactile in there for a minute. And I think it's a brilliant idea to do in a small town. But Mastercard has been very intentional about the senses that they use, right? And there was a big post, I think it was maybe it was Axios who did this post about you guys around trying to engage all the senses as part of the experience. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. Look, it starts with our business strategy, right? Again, if you look at the legacy product, it's a piece of plastic that sits in your wallet and you swipe it or tap it or dip it when you need to pay. Now, that has also evolved. In many cases, you're shopping online where you don't have to have the physical plastic present anymore. In some cases, you're putting your card credentials in a digital wallet like an Apple Pay or a Samsung Pay, and you're simply tapping your phone. Over time, our view is that commerce is going to become frictionless, where you won't have to think about it. It's kind of like putting your card on file with Netflix, and every month the recurring payment is just taken. Nobody has an emotional involvement in the payment moment. So as much friction as we can take out of the payment moment, the better. The problem, though, is that as you do that, the visibility of the brand disappears, right? Once you go away from the piece of plastic with the logo and everything becomes frictionless, your car has an embedded payment chip in it. And through NFT, you can just drive through a toll and you don't even know you've made the payment. You've authorized it to happen. Once AI agents take over and you give permission to an AI agent to make a payment on your behalf, all of these things will relegate the visual brand to obsolescence. But yet, the brand itself is important because it is a mark of trust. It is a mark of security. You know that when you're paying with a Mastercard, your data is secure. It is not compromised. The payment is secure. If something goes wrong, there's a redressal process that you will be protected. You have zero liability in the US. We make sure that you are in a very safe environment to share your financial data. So the brand is really a mark of trust. So we have to find other ways other than the visual medium to make sure that that brand impression comes through. So in some cases, that is sound. So that when a transaction goes through on a device where the visual medium isn't present, it makes a sound that enables you to know that that transaction is secure. In some cases, it is haptic. If the sound is off, it's a vibration on the phone that makes you recognize that that payment has indeed gone through and it is a tokenized transaction that is very secure, so on and so forth. So our vision has been, as brand marketers, we should not only look at one visual field as the way to communicate a brand impression. We should look at others so that if that visual medium is no longer available, we can still make a brand impression and we could still pass on the message of trust and security to the cardholder. That's the logic.
So you've covered off on sight, sound, and touch, but
that's right.
What about taste and smell? Like, you guys got a smell and a taste? What's that all about?
Yes, we keep extending the portfolio to try to see where does that engagement with our audience really land. So, for instance, when we do all of this hosting that we do at sports events, etc., right? We give out food to eat. We have an ambience that is set up, etc. If you've ever walked into an Abercrombie anywhere in the world, you'll know that it smells exactly the same, I can blindfold you and drop you in the middle of an Abercrombie in a foreign country, and you'll say, I don't know which country I'm in, but I know I'm in an Abercrombie, right? That is a
Yeah.
brand impression. So when you go to a Mastercard event, we want you to have the same takeaway, that you are at a Mastercard event, right? When you taste a cocktail, when you have an hors d'oeuvre, we want you to know that there is something that connotes that you are part of a Mastercard environment. And for that reason, we steer into things like taste and smell.
Cool. So, I want to be cognizant of time. We're kind of at the 30-minute mark here. And, you've thought so much about the different experiences. Clearly, you guys are thinking about the experiences of the future. So tell me, what's in it? What's something we can look forward to as a 2030 MasterCard experience?
But 2030 is a long way off. A lot's going to change between now and 2030. I mean, we're very excited with where the world of technology is going, right? The idea to do things with artificial intelligence that makes travel more seamless. The idea of doing things that makes a culinary experience more desirable. The idea of personalizing at scale is very empowering. I talked about us having more than 1 billion cardholders. We'd love to be able to do something personal for every cardholder based on what your tastes, preferences, choices are. And technology might enable us to do that between now and 2030. So this idea of personalization at scale is very inspiring. The idea of using technology to make your passions, whether they're sports or travel or culinary, more meaningful to you is very inspiring. And we'll see what the landscape provides. I think what we're sure of is, we have an ethos at this company, and we have a legacy of doing things that are novel, breakthrough, and engaging to consumers. And no matter where the world of technology takes us, this is something we want to keep doing, and we want to keep doubling down on. So I hope you'll find a lot of things between now and 2030 that will be very inspiring and keep you engaged as a Mastercard cardholder.
Thank you. And let's bring that back then to present day. So, as a Mastercard customer, what's probably an experience or an opportunity with Mastercard that I probably don't know about that I should maybe go onto the Priceless site, check out? What would you give me as a tip?
The first place to start off is by signing into priceless.com, because when you sign in with your card credentials, we'll know exactly what's available to you, both from Mastercard and your issuing bank, or if you have a co-brand card, then from the co-brand partner, it could be an airline, a hotel, etc. So you get the full landscape of what we have available for you. You can then segment those experiences based on where you are, whether you're in the US, whether you're in a foreign country, whether you're in New York or LA or wherever you might be. You can also break it down by what you're interested in engaging with, whether it's sports, whether it's entertainment, whether it's culinary, whether it's something else. And we'll give you a plethora of experiences that are not available anywhere else. You can book it right through the site. You can even share it with family. In some cases, there are auctions. You can bid for things that are novel and exciting. You can donate stuff if you'd like. And really, the world of Priceless comes to life in this platform. So I encourage you and your listeners to really give it a minute and go to priceless.com, sign up. In many cases, if you're an American Airlines flyer and you have an American Airlines loyalty program card, then it's automatically available to you through your loyalty app. And you will find experiences like you could not imagine, whether it's walking inside the ropes at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, walking the red carpet at the Grammys, or doing something incredibly fun with McLaren. It's all available there. So go in, check it out, participate. In some cases, the experiences are free. In some cases, they're highly discounted. We give away Formula One racing tickets for the grandstand at ridiculously low prices. People go nuts and they get sold out within minutes. But it's all stuff that's available to a cardholder. So go and check it out.
Outstanding. Rustom, you've got a lot of thoughts and ideas for any of our listeners who want to learn more about what you're thinking and what you're doing. What's the best way for them to connect with you?
So the best way is on LinkedIn. Follow me on LinkedIn. I try to regularly share thoughts I have without being obnoxious and oversharing. I try to walk that fine line. It's more around things that I found helpful as a marketer. I'm always interested in hearing from other marketers or even other consumers to say what matters to them, right? So the best way to sort of follow my thinking and follow the company's thinking is to just go onto LinkedIn, follow both the Mastercard handle as well as mine. And from there onwards, we'll share as much as we can, and we love to keep the dialogue going.
Outstanding. We'll put a link to that in the show notes. But Rustom, thank you so much for being on Content Kingdom. We really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me, David.
What is your favorite sports sound? Is it the bat crack, the swing of the golf club, the crowd roar, or something else?
The crowd roar, by far.
What is the most recent consumer brand that has surprised you?
I think Vori is a pretty cool brand.
What is the most underrated sport in the Americas?
Hockey, maybe?
All right. Okay. Drones. Love them or hate them?
Love them. As
Nice.
long as they're not harming people. Because we found lately they're not that endearing.
Will lacrosse ever be a mainstream sport?
Sure, why not?
All right. Great. That would be my dream if you guys would invest in that. All right. And with all this sporting stuff that you do, what's a childhood dream you have lived through this job?
Well, look, I grew up in Mumbai, India, and I moved here as a student in the 90s. I'd never imagined being able to go to the Grammys or, go and see a Formula One race or get to meet someone famous. And being a marketer for Mastercard has really exposed me to truly incredible opportunities, which I could not be more grateful for. I'm doing exciting stuff. I'm doing meaningful stuff for the company. And it's exposing me to things that I was not exposed to previously. So that's pretty cool.